If you've been on levothyroxine for years, stable, dialed in, no issues, and then you started Retatrutide, and now your thyroid labs are coming back different, your prescriber may not have flagged it as related. And maybe you believed them for a while, but you're here, which means the labs didn't go back to normal on their own, and you're not alone. You see, we're starting to see this regularly in our practice as more people come in already on Retatrutide. Hashimoto is an autoimmune condition that affects the thyroid and produces hypothyroid in many patients. They're on Retatrutide and they're experiencing the exact same thing. So here's what I want to tell you right now. Retatrutide did not damage your thyroid, but what it did do was work so well, so aggressively, that the math on your thyroid medication changed. And most prescribers aren't monitoring for that shift. They weren't taught to. The lab change isn't a sign that your thyroid is getting worse. It's a sign that your metabolism is finally moving. But if nobody set up the right monitoring before you started, you're flying blind right now, and that's what we're going to fix today. I'm Dr. Jones, DC, and I lead a nationwide GLP-1 and metabolic clinic. In this video, I'm gonna walk you through exactly what's happening, the 3 pharmacokinetic reasons that your thyroid labs shifted, and why Retatrutide hits this math faster and harder than Tirzepatide did, and what proper monitoring actually looks like for a Hashimoto's patient taking Retatrutide. Now stay with me, because by the end of this video, you're gonna understand what's actually driving these changes, why your prescriber missed it, and what needs to be in place for a Hashimoto's patient that's starting Retatrutide or already on. So let's give you the picture, right, of what this actually looks like in practice. So patient comes in, she's been on levothyroxine for 8 years. Dose hasn't changed in the last 4, right? She's stable. She starts Retatrutide at 1 milligram, titrates up over a couple months, weight's coming off faster than ever before. Fantastic. She's feeling good, better than she has in years, honestly. Then we get her labs. Her free T4 is lower than her baseline. TSH has shifted. Her prescriber looks at it and says, let's wait and see. No adjustment, no explanation, no additional testing ordered. She starts Googling. She finds online threads full of other Hashimoto's patients asking the same questions. Did this medication mess up my thyroid? That's the moment that most people land on this video. That specific confusion. Labs changed, and you're trying to figure out if you just made a mistake starting Retatrutide in the first place. But you didn't. But there are 3 things happening in your body right now that your prescriber may not have connected yet. And once you understand them, this whole picture changes. And if you're watching this right now and realizing that nobody actually ran a full thyroid baseline before you ever started Retatrutide, that's exactly the kind of gap that our team works with. Just text the number on the screen, guys, or check out the link in the description to set up a free discovery call with one of our patient educators. They're gonna walk through where you're at and what it looks like to work with us, me, my team, my medical team, the whole 9 yards. So let's answer the question that everybody is asking. Did Retatrutide damage my thyroid? Let me say hell to the no. I feel confident saying that. But can I say that? I want to be really specific about why, because the drug is fine. Don't worry isn't good enough. You deserve to understand as much as you want the actual mechanisms. So here's what's happening. When you lose weight, especially at the speed that Retatrutide drives, your body goes through 3 simultaneous pharmacokinetic shifts that directly affect how your levothyroxine behaves. Not your thyroid gland, your medication. There's a difference, and it matters. So pathway number 1 is absorption. So levothyroxine is highly sensitive to absorption changes. Food, gut conditions, and other medications can all shift how much of your dose actually gets into your system. Food and gastrointestinal conditions clearly affect how much gets absorbed, and dosing is often calibrated to body size, and gut health matters. So when Retatrutide drives rapid fat loss and significant reductions to your food intake, the gut environment that your levothyroxine was calibrated for may no longer be the same. Absorption can shift, and that's worth paying attention to. Okay, so pathway number 2 is distribution. As your lean to fat ratio changes, and with Reta it changes fast, your overall thyroid hormone requirements can shift. Body composition and tissue metabolism both influence how much thyroid hormone your system needs. And even if the mechanism isn't fully mapped out yet, it's a real thing that you can see. And then pathway number 3 is the hypothalamic pituitary thyroid axis, aka HPA response. Now this one surprises people because when you're in a significant calorie deficit, which Retatrutide almost guarantees, especially in the early titration phase, your body reads that as a stress signal. The HPA axis responds by dialing back thyroid output as a protective mechanism. This is your body being smart, not broken. It's conserving energy. It's not retatrutide attacking your thyroid. It's your metabolism responding to rapid change. Now, all three pathways can move your labs at the same time. And if your prescriber is only checking TSH annually, which is what's typically recommended for stable patients, they're looking at one number that reflects the endpoint of a cascade, not the cascade itself. And that's why the labs shifted, not damaged. It's just pharmacokinetics. Now, this is actually something that I want to make a dedicated video on, how we optimize thyroid levels, the full baseline panel, the sequencing decisions, all of it. If that's a video that you want to see, let me know in the comments and give me some details about your current thyroid scenario, because depending on the interests, it could definitely move up on my list faster. Okay, so here's the part most Hashimoto's patients don't expect, and honestly, where some of the most exciting conversations in our practice are happening right now. So some of the patients that we work with who have Hashimoto's and they start retatrutide aren't just seeing their weight come down, they're watching their TPO antibodies drop. Their inflammatory markers are improving. Some of them feel better, genuinely better, in ways that go beyond the weight loss itself. And the question that they're all asking is retatrutide doing this? Is my autoimmune disease actually getting better? Now here's the honest answer. We don't know yet. And if anybody tells you retatrutide is a solution for autoimmune disease, be wary. Now, what we do know is that substantial fat loss is often associated with reductions in the inflammatory compounds that fat tissue produces, particularly in people carrying significant visceral fat, which you'll see more in autoimmune patients in many cases. Now, less visceral fat means your immune system is under less chronic inflammatory pressure. So reducing systemic inflammation can decrease chronic immune activation, which may benefit a system that's already overreactive. So yes, I think the improvement is real in my opinion. Now, whether it's retatrutide specifically or it's the metabolic changes that it's driving like a secondary effect, is harder to separate right now. So what I tell patients in this situation is this: don't chase the antibody number as the only signal. Track both, track how you feel, energy, brain fog, joint comfort, flare frequency, and track the labs, TPO antibodies, inflammatory markers, free T3, free T4. The full picture tells you more than any single number. And yes, we're talking about other areas and other symptoms, maybe outside of Hashimoto's, because I think this conversation is much broader than just Hashimoto's and probably applies to all autoimmune diseases. Now, here's what's true. Feeling better and lowering antibodies are two separate goals. Sometimes they move together, sometimes one moves before the other, but both matter. So if your antibodies are coming down and you feel better, that's real. Don't let anybody tell you that it isn't, right? Just tell them the kick rocks. Now, the question that I get from almost every Hashimoto's patient who's been on Tirzepatide before retatrutide is this: why is this different? I did fine on Tirzepatide, my labs were stable, I switched to Reta, and suddenly, bam, everything shifted. Oh shit. Woo. And yes, this microphone just popped in front of my face because a couple seconds ago it was over there and I forgot to shift it over here. It's not the first time that's happened, and that's why I have a second microphone in case any YouTubers are watching. Anyways, so what changed? The answer is glucagon. See, Tirzepatide is a dual agonist. It works on the GLP-1 and GIP receptors. Retatrutide is a triple agonist. It targets GLP-1, GIP, and glucagon receptors. The glucagon receptor is the difference. See, here's what glucagon does in this context. Glucagon promotes the mobilization of stored energy, it increases hepatic glucose output, and it drives fat breakdown, especially in fasting and catabolic states where you're losing weight. That's the primary metabolic role that it plays here. Triple agonists like retatrutide, which includes glucagon receptor activation, have produced greater weight and fat loss than the dual agonists in trials. The working explanation is enhanced energy expenditure and fat mobilization across all three receptor pathways, though the exact contribution of each receptor is still being studied. Now that's actually the feature. That's why retatrutide produces the weight loss results that it does. But faster, more aggressive weight loss means that your body composition and metabolic state are changing more quickly. That might require earlier reassessment of doses for medications, like levothyroxine, that are sensitive to those variables. The window between dose set and dose needs adjusting may be more narrow with retatrutide than with the slower acting agents. It's not a side effect, it's the mechanism doing exactly what it's supposed to do, working so effectively that everything downstream, it has to catch up. including your thyroid medication math. So if your prescriber understood this before you started, they probably would have said something from day number one. But many didn't. The current guidelines don't specifically address adjusting thyroid dosing with retatrutide. It's too new. So real-world monitoring for thyroid pharmacokinetic changes likely varies wildly among prescribers. And now you have a better idea why. So the next question is the one that's the hardest to sit with. Could this have been prevented? Honestly, yes, but not always. But in most cases, the monitoring gap that creates this problem is avoidable if the right things are in place before you start. So first, and this is something most prescribers skip, we want that baseline before the weight loss starts moving fast. Because once that glucagon effect kicks in, which is that third signal from retatrutide specifically versus the other GLP-1s, and the weight is coming off aggressively, you're already chasing the shift. The baseline becomes your anchor point. And without it, you have no reference for what changed and how much. And second is sequencing. And this is something we're very deliberate about in our practice. We do our best to not start Reta at the same time my medical team is starting patients on low-dose naltrexone, adjusting thyroid medication, overhauling someone's protocol at once. It doesn't have to be perfect one at a time. That's a little ridiculous. But trying to parse them out, separate them, helps our providers be more accurate in getting these things dialed in correctly. You can't tell what's working and what needs adjustment. Retatrutide earns its place in the stack, but it has to be added when the foundation is stable enough to support it. This is the Reta trade-off. The same aggressiveness that makes retatrutide the most effective weight loss compound available right now is the same aggressiveness that demands more preparation and more monitoring than anything else in the category. The reward is real, so is the responsibility.
Remember, with great
power comes great responsibility. Let me know in the comments, where are you at with your levothyroxine or any thyroid medication? Did you start retatrutide? Are you on both? Has your labs changed? I'll jump in and respond with what we'd be looking at first in our clinic. And as always, work with your provider on any medication adjustments. But the more you understand this picture, the better that the conversation's going to go. So I want you to think about your situation for a second. You've heard the three pathways, the glucagon effect, what a proper baseline looks like. Now, honestly, do you feel like your prescriber had this picture before you started? So let me tell you what this actually looks like when it's managed correctly, because that's what you came here for. So when a Hashimoto's patient comes to our team on retatrutide with shifting thyroid labs, the first thing that we do is we get the full picture. Not the TSH alone, free T3, free T4, TPO antibodies, the thyroid globulin antibodies, inflammatory markers, reverse T3, when the clinical picture warrants it. That panel tells us whether we're looking at a pharmacokinetic shift, which is manageable, or something deeper driving the thyroid dysfunction that the retatrutide uncovered. Because here's what conventional medicine misses with Hashimoto's. Your prescriber is managing your thyroid hormone levels. That's the furniture. But the fire, the immune system attacking your own thyroid tissue, the gut permeability, feeding that immune activation, the chronic inflammation, keeping the whole system dysregulated, that's still burning. Replacing the furniture while the house is on fire only gets you so far. So what we do differently is work across all 5 systems driving the dysfunction. So we got gut health. The gut hosts a large share of the body's immune cells, and the gut mucosa and microbiome play a major role in shaping how the immune system behaves systemically. And then there's intestinal permeability, aka leaky gut. This is a known driver of autoimmune activation. Inflammation, the vicious cycle where inflammation creates more dysfunction, which creates more inflammation. Then there's nutritional deficiencies, the raw materials that your thyroid and immune system need to function. And we have dietary triggers, things like gluten, and other inflammatory inputs that keep the immune system reactive, and then nervous system regulation, because chronic stress dysregulates cortisol, and cortisol dysregulates immune function and the inflammatory response. And then we layer in the advanced tools, low-dose naltrexone to modulate immune and inflammatory pathways. It appears to influence the kind of chronic immune activation that drives autoimmune conditions, though thyroid-specific data are still building. BPC-157 and KPV in experimental models both show effects on gut mucosal repair and inflammatory signaling. We use them for the potential to accelerate the gut repair phase of the protocol. Then we have thymosin alpha-1, which modulates immune function. It enhances T cell activity and influences innate immunity in ways that make it a useful tool in our autoimmune protocols. And then retatrutide itself, not just as a weight loss tool, but as they compound that by driving substantial fat loss, can reduce the adipose-driven inflammatory signaling that's been stoking the fire. And I also think, because there's research on the other earlier GLP-1s in the autoimmune category that's still happening right now, it's starting to tell us a story that maybe these GLP-1s have direct immune system modulating parts. Super exciting research, and of course I'll keep you guys posted on all that as it unravels. This is the three-pronged approach that most programs can offer: root cause, functional medicine, advanced metabolic tools, and medical oversight. Most clinics give you one of those, maybe two, but we give you all three, because that's what Hashimoto's actually requires. Now here's what I want you to take away from this video. Retatrutide is one of the most powerful metabolic tools available right now. And for a Hashimoto's patient, that power, it cuts both ways. The glucagon effect is real, the pharmacokinetic shifts are real, and the monitoring gap that most prescribers leave open, it's real. But none of that means Retatrutide is wrong for you. It means that it has to be done right. That's the Reta trade-off. The reward is worth it. The preparation and the oversight, they're non-negotiable. And if you're ready to stop managing symptoms and start addressing what's actually driving your Hashimoto's, the immune dysregulation, the gut permeability, the inflammation that your levothyroxine doses was never designed to touch, our team can help you build that picture. The first step is a free discovery call with one of our patient educators. They're gonna go through your history, what you've already tried, and what's still not moving. There's no pressure at all, just clarity on whether what we do is the right fit for you, and depending on where you're at. And if you decide to move forward, the starting point is a comprehensive blood panel reviewed by Dr. Allen. She is our functional medicine specialist who leads our Restore Blueprint program. She runs a full workup, and then she'll sit down with you and explain exactly what she sees, what's driving your symptoms at the root level, and how she would actually approach it. That review, finally getting real answers from someone who's actually looking at the full picture, that's what most of our patients tell us was the turning point. So if you and Dr. Allen decide to move forward together from there, you can find out what the 12-month program looks like and whether it's the right fit for you. That conversation happens after the blood work, not at the discovery call. The program includes comprehensive baseline labs in month 1, retesting several times throughout the program, usually quarterly, and monthly visits, targeted supplementations adjusted as your labs move. And then of course, a long-term remission plan. This isn't a 30-day fix situation, because healing Hashimoto's isn't a sprint. It's a 12-month rebuild of the systems that have been dysregulated, sometimes for years. This isn't about replacing your current doctor or stopping your medications per se, although a lot of our patients do wean off of a lot of medications, and we kind of pride ourselves in that. It's about adding the pieces that they're not addressing, working alongside what you're already doing, not against it. And if you're watching this because the autoimmune piece isn't your primary concern right now, but your focus is weight loss, the thyroid management, getting the Retatrutide dialed in correctly, that's a completely different conversation. And we have a coaching program built specifically just for that. GLP-1 optimization, thyroid management, metabolic root cause work. That's not a 12-month functional medicine requirement. That's a completely different program. Let our patient educators know that that's where you're at and that's what you're focused on, and they'll route you to the right potential program and go over those prices. Again, just text the number on the screen or check out the link in the description and we'll take it from there. And if you want to keep going, I put together a full video on how we fix Hashimoto's from the root cause, real patient results, the full protocol. That's the video right there. Check it out, guys. We'll see you later.